slipping past you with every tick of the clock, every beat of your heart. And so every sunrise is an invitation for you to do what this verse tells us to do, which is to walk circumspectly, walk in a wise way, and to use it as it is a gift from God. Today may be the only day you've got. So you got to choose how you're going to use it. Too many people let life happen to them. Their life is just the result of whatever has happened. Take the control of it. They don't grab the steering wheel. They're not guiding their life. Not living their life with a purpose or on purpose. That is over the next few weeks. I don't know how many weeks I've got this laid out for. We'll see how long it goes. But I want to talk about exactly that, living your life on purpose. As believers, right, we believe in grace. What that means is that we understand that our salvation may be settled, but the stewardship of our life is in our hands. You've been given the stewardship of the life, yours. If you're a parent, we're given stewardship of the life of a child, but you're only going to really steward that life. Really steward that individual's life, maybe, right? If you are a very, very conscientious parent, you stewarded your child's life maybe 18 years. Reality is about 14 or 15, they start really taking the wheel, and you start graduating out of their life. Only life that you have stewardship of from beginning to end is yours. You're going to give an answer for it. Right? It's not right, and not in a bad way, right? It's not that you're going to give an answer for this life. God's going to judge you if you don't use your time properly, right? But think of it, right, in terms of a boss hires you to do a job, right? Hires you to oversee a project, provides you with X number of dollars to accomplish that project. At the end, the success or failure of that project, he's going to call into account those books. He's going to ask you where those dollars were spent. Most of us, if we were called into account for our time, we would have to say, I really don't know where most of it goes. Right? I spend a couple hours doom scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. A couple hours sitting in the garage staring at the ceiling. Right? I've spent 2 hours driving back and forth to work. I don't know, but what do I listen to? What am I doing in that time? Right? I'm just kind of daydreaming. We ought to live our lives on purpose. You have stewardship of a life. You should take that seriously. John Maxwell says you'll never change your life until you change something you do daily. You know what makes a difference in your life is what you do. Everybody's got great plans. Right? In your head right now, even like I don't care if you're the oldest person in this room or the youngest person in this room, you got a plan in your head as to where you see your life being 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, whatever it might be. Right? Some of you got this idea, I'm gonna have lots of more. When I finally get out of this house and I don't have a mom and dad telling me what to do anymore, I'm gonna get rich. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get rich. Right? You have a plan, man, the way that you see it. But that plan, right, per se, is really more of a dream necessarily than a plan. You got to do something to get you there. And if you just take life as it comes, you allow the waves of life to crash against your shore, and you do nothing to prevent the erosion of the beach, you will find sands of time will slip off into the ocean, and you will have very little beach left. You will wonder where it all went. Some of us who have lived a little will tell you that life is two things. It's a lot longer than you think it's going to be. It's also a lot shorter than you think it's going to be. Right? Listen, right? I grew up playing sports and everything else, and man, I beat my body to death. And when I wake up in the morning, my body reminds me of all of those things that I did when I was younger. Right? I've got broken fingers from playing basketball, hockey, some from punching people. I've got some broken fingers. And when I wake up in the morning, right, that first little while takes a little while before those hands work exactly right. And some days it takes longer than others. Right? And so if I had known I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself. Right? So, but life, you've got to change something you're doing every day. Your daily choices are determining for you whether you are living out God's purpose for your life or whether you are just going with the flow. Most of us, as believers, would say we are called not to go with the flow. And yet, that is exactly what we do with our life. We end up just going with the flow. And we falsely call it faith. We claim it as faith, when in reality it is us being too scared to make a decision, to make a choice, and to do something. And we call it faith, and we say, well, this is just, I'm just living by faith. No, you're living by fear. You're scared to make a choice. There's a lot of reasons to be scared to make choices, right? Sometimes you're scared to make a choice when it comes to your life because you're scared that the choice you make will be the wrong one. And that you'll find out 5 years from now that you made the wrong choice and that you will have wasted 5 years. Let me tell you what will happen if you don't make a choice. You will waste that same 5 years. So you can waste it in pursuit of something that may end up being wrong, or you can waste it by just sitting there and not making a choice at all. You got to choose. You got to choose. If you're going to live a life for God, you're going to live a life trying to accomplish God's will. It's going to take choices. Grace doesn't free you from responsibility. What grace does is it gives us the permission to make wrong choices. That's what it does. You should not make choices you know are wrong. You should attempt to do what you can for God. You should attempt to live within God's will. But you may try to live within God's will, make a choice, and it may be wrong. And you may find out 5 years from now or 10 years from now that it was the wrong choice. But you will be able to stand before God and say, I made a choice. And I believed this was what you wanted me to do. And I was wrong. It appears that I was wrong at least. And so I am sorry, but I am trying to serve you. I would rather stand before God and say, I made a choice, I believed it was the right one, and I made a mistake, than to stand before God and say, I didn't make any choice at all because I was scared to death I'd make the wrong. There are a lot of Christians drifting through their lives, and young people, there is a lot of young people drifting through their Christian life, through their life altogether, making no choices, no direction, because they are scared to death they'll make the wrong one. Well, I don't want to choose to marry or not marry that person because, look what happened to my mom and dad, or look what happened to my aunt and uncle, or look what happened with this or that. Maybe you can live the rest of your life in fear and fearing the consequences that others have suffered, or you can get out there and make your own mistakes. I promise you this, you will make far more wrong decisions in this life, then you will make right ones. But the right ones that you do make are going to take you a much further than all of the people who are scared to make any choice because they're scared of making the wrong one. So they stand and say to themselves, I've never made a wrong choice. Yeah, you've never made a right one either. But you've never made any choice whatsoever. There's a lot of people that live their lives that way. Today shapes tomorrow's success. Look at, you're in Galatians chapter 5. Go over one page, to Galatians chapter 6 with me real quick. Galatians chapter 6. Look at just a couple of verses. These are all verses, at least, I assume most of us know pretty well. But be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. He that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. Let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. He tells us a bunch of stuff in this passage, but the main point of the passage is this. You are going to sow something today. You are going to reap what you sow today in the future. So be sure that what you sow today is what you want to reap in the future. Now, do all crops come out like you think that they're going to come out? Nope. Ask any farmer ever in history, and they will all tell you sometimes you get far more than you thought you were going to get. Sometimes you get a lot less than you thought you were going to get. But crops produce. You're sowing something today. Whether you want to sow something or not makes no difference. Just are. You are sowing inaction. You are sowing fear. You are going to reap that down the line. The number of people who cannot make a decision because they have become completely incapable of making decisions because they have spent so long not making one that they now can't even bring themselves to make one is exceptional. They're everywhere. Make a decision. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But I would rather make a decision that I believed was the right one and find out down the road when I reap it that, you know what, that wasn't the right one, than to not make any decision and continue to reap the fruit of making no decision. Listen, the seed you sow today will determine the harvest of tomorrow. Spiritual growth isn't instantaneous. It's cultivated by long years of consistency. That's how it's done. You know how rich people get rich? This is going to blow your minds. They don't get rich by playing the lottery. Elon Musk didn't become the world's richest man by playing the lottery. Jeff Bezos doesn't trade places with Elon Musk every couple months on being the world's richest man by playing the lottery. What they did? They did something consistent. And consistency compounds. You don't know this. Consistency compounds. We've all seen a train before. You ever seen a train get going? Trains run on metal wheels. You know what it does when it starts going? Those metal wheels just slip. Pretty soon, it starts building momentum. Listen, the smallest thing can stop a train before it's moving. Tiniest rock on a track can keep a train from moving. But once it's moving, Greyhound bus can't stop it. Why? Momentum. Consistency compounds. You teach yourself to make decisions. Teach yourself to make decisions that you believe are right. Pray about it. Ask God to lead you. Trust that He is leading you. And make decisions that you believe are the right ones. If you don't teach yourself to make decisions, you will teach yourself not to make decisions. Then you will blame your life on everybody else. Because it couldn't possibly be your fault. How could your life be your fault? You didn't decide anything. When in reality, your life was 100% your fault because you didn't decide anything. Listen, God's grace gives you a brand new chance every morning to start all over. So you may make the wrong decision today. And you may not know that until tomorrow. But when you realize tomorrow that it was the wrong decision, you can change that decision and move on. But every day you've got a brand new chance. One of Pastor Johnson's favorite passages of Scripture, right, was his mercies are new every morning. Right? Every day you've got a brand new chance. Today doesn't have to be like yesterday, and tomorrow doesn't have to be like today. But I promise you that you are doomed to continue to repeat the cycle if you choose nothing. You've got to take action. It tells you in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse number 13 and verse number 14. It says, every man's work shall be made manifest, for the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by fire. And the fire shall try every man's work of what sort it is. If any man's work abide, which he hath built thereupon, he shall receive a reward. Listen, he tells you he's going to judge every man's work, right? Listen, your eternal destiny has already been secured by your faith in Jesus Christ. But what you sow daily is going to determine, right here, is what this is going to determine. And you know what's going to be judged? What sort of work it was. What was the sort of it? Was it an attempt to do what you could for God? Was it an attempt, man, to be the right witness, the right thing, at the right time, man, for your family, man, for your wife, for your husband, for your kids? What sort is it? Here's what's amazing about it, right? He says, it'll be what a man does is going to be made manifest, and the day will declare what a man has done. And what a man has done will be revealed by that fire. But notice he doesn't talk about the outcome. The outcome is not what determines whether it was the right thing or the wrong thing. What sort of work it was does. We get so focused on the outcome. Well, yeah, but I'm not getting the outcome I want. I'm not getting the outcome I want. I'm not getting the outcome I want. Well, that's because, man, the outcome you want may be longer. It may take longer to achieve than what your patience is presently willing to accept. Listen, it takes time, but it's what sort of work that is what's going to be determined. That's what's going to be made manifest, not the outcome of it. It's one of the reasons that Dr. Hiles used to say, right, that when he gets to heaven, right, he says, I'm going to be standing behind a lot of pastors that pastored small churches that maybe never broke 100 out in the backwoods of nowhere, because they stayed and they stood the test of time and they just kept being consistent even when there was no reward for what they were doing. He said, I've seen God bless, and his church grew, and Brother Howell went all over the place and preached. He said, but I'll stand behind some of those guys who just toughed it out. Listen, don't get so focused on the outcome that you change the sort of work that you are doing. We live presently, right? Everybody wants to get rich quick. And everybody, kids and young people, right, look at YouTube and they go, man, you can just become a YouTube star. It's not that hard. You just pick up your phone and start recording and bam, you're a YouTube star. Right? They don't realize that, man, the people who now are making all kinds of money on YouTube have been on YouTube, some of them for 20 and 30 and even longer than that. Mr. Beast, the richest guy on YouTube. He didn't start 5 years ago. 6 years ago. He didn't even start 10 years ago when everybody started hearing his name. He was happening way before that. And if he had changed the sort of thing he was doing, he wouldn't be as successful as he is now. I don't have any opinion on him as far as good, bad, or whatever, right? But he wanted to have the success that he presently has. You can't constantly let the outcomes of life determine the actions of your life. Doesn't mean that they don't factor in. It doesn't mean that you don't take them into account. But you've got to be consistent about it. Samuel Johnson said, the future is purchased by the present. Charles Swindoll says we are free to choose our actions, but not free to choose the consequences of those actions. Listen, you get to choose. You don't get to choose outcome. All you can choose is what you do. I give you lots of examples, but here's one for parents, right? You don't get to choose whether your kids grow up to be good Christians and law-abiding citizens and generous, loving, kind-hearted individuals. But you get to choose what you sow into their life. That you do get to choose. And if you're not sowing good, kind-hearted, right, good Christian ethics and values, you're not sowing those things into your kid's life. Listen, you will bear responsibility for what they become, but you don't bear all the responsibility for it. As a young person, you don't get to blame your parents for why you are the way you are. Well, I just have anger problems because of my parents. No, you don't. You got anger problems because you won't control yourself. You won't grow up and be mature. That's why you got anger problems. Well, you don't understand. My dad's like this. My mom's like that. No, I do understand. What I understand is everybody's responsible for their own actions. There are a lot of people out there that have grown up in the exact same situation that you've grown up in and turned out completely different. So explain it. It's easy to explain. They made a different choice than you. Listen, you've got to choose. It's like a farmer who doesn't plant anything but expects to reap everything. Right? It's not going to work out that way. Small disciplines lead to big spiritual growth in your life. Luke chapter 16, verse number 10. He says, he that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much, and he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much. Listen, it's the little things. Faithfulness in little things is what prepares you to do greater things or to take on greater responsibility. I enjoy going to the gym. I haven't been for a couple of months, just busy with work and then a lot of other stuff. But I enjoy going to the gym. Here's what's funny about when you go to the gym. You'll see guys, right? Sometimes they're ripped, man. You look at those bodybuilders, right? Everybody in here has seen a bodybuilder before. They're all jacked up, right? You know what everybody says? Well, yeah, sure. They're on steroids. Is that what you think made them big like that? So steroids aren't what made like that. Steroids contribute. But if you take a steroid shot every day, you continue eating like you and I eat, and exercising like we exercise, you think you're going to look like Arnold? Yeah, probably not, right? It takes the work, too. It takes the little thing. Sometimes we think we could just get one big shot. We could just get that one big opportunity, man. If that one person would just see me singing on my YouTube channel, man. If that one person would just see me at work, the big boss would walk by when I'm doing the best thing, man, ever, that I would get promoted, man. If I could just get that one big opportunity. But it's not the big opportunities that make successful people. Little ones that they do every single day. Everybody in here knows I'm no fan of Hollywood. But the people that are famous in Hollywood, The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, those people, you think they became famous just because all of a sudden somebody saw them and said, man, I'd love to put you in a movie? No, you know what they did? They were in this and they were in that. You watch enough movies, you know what you'll see? You'll see people in the background of movies before they were famous. You go, hey, look at that so-and-so. I didn't know he was in this movie. Why? They kept doing those little things every single day. They went to every casting call. They were in everything. If they had to be in it just for free, just to get their name man up there on the board, they would do it. They did everything they could until they finally made it. I'm not a fan of every band that's out there, but you look at some of these big bands, you know how they became big bands? They played little rundown, man, roadhouses where there was they had to sing behind a cage because people threw beer bottles and everything else. They made it. They did that every single day until they made it. You look at people like Dr. Hiles, you look at people like Brother Chappell, and you say, man, how'd they make it? Man, they're big time pastors and they're big spiritual leaders. They weren't that. They weren't that. Dr. Chappell started that church in the upstairs in a Sunday school classroom of another church. That's where that whole thing started. Brother Trieber started in an even worse situation. Brother Blue, who's my dad's friend, in Washington, he started in a chicken coop. You know what they did? They did something consistent every day. And those little consistent things that they did every day prepared them for something more. And if the something more never comes, it doesn't matter. It's prepared you for something more. Make you into somebody that's worthy of it. Listen, grace, your grace grows in our lives best through our routine obedience, our everyday obedience to God. When you look at things like spiritual maturity, even just regular maturity in life, all of it is the accumulation of small, consistent steps every day. If you don't, listen, all of us have done something, learned how to do it, got proficient at it, stopped doing it, and now, if you asked us to do it again, we'd be like, maybe you might need to show me how to do that. Right? You go to these Mexican restaurants, you go to Chipotle, right? They put all of that stuff in that burrito. And there is more than can fit in that burrito. And they wrap it up, comes out, it's a burrito that big. Somehow they're able to wrap that whole thing up. You know what it would look like if I did it? It wouldn't look like that. When we lived down in El Centro, my buddy Jesus, his mom used to make us tortillas all the time. She tried to teach Sarah how to make tortillas. And as we would just take a ball of dough, she'd roll it up, she'd slap it on the thing, that little roller thing, a little bit longer than a hand. That thing was a perfect circle. And I would do it, it would look like Florida. Right? Why could she do it? I couldn't. She did it all the time. That's why. Listen, that's how growth takes place. It's consistently taking steps in the right direction. Just keep consistently going in the right direction. I know there'll be setbacks. I know there'll be days when you don't make any action at all. But just wake up and keep choosing to go in the right direction. Even when everything in your life falls apart, you make the biggest mistake you've ever made, choose to get up and take steps in the right direction. Charles Spurgeon said, by perseverance the snail reached the ark. Never really thought about that, did you? But the snails had to get to the ark just like everybody else. Like the ants, like everybody else. Right? Well, I took some time. Craig Rochelle said it's not the great things you do occasionally that shape your life, but it's the small things you do consistently. All of us see people in grand moments of their life and think to ourselves, yeah, easy for them to say. It is. It is easy for them to say. It's easy for them to say because they've taken those little steps, those daily battles. They've gone to war every day until they finally made it to where they're at. You say, yeah, but I've been trying and I'm not making it and it's not working out. Listen, all I can tell you is consistency gets you where you want to go. That is what will get you where you want to go. I'll give you real quick. In 30 days, if all you did was tip 1 penny and double it for 30 days. The first day you'd have 1 penny. The second day you would have 2. By the end of the first week, you'd have 64 cents. Doesn't seem like much, right? By the end of the second week, you'd have $81.92. You'd be on your way. You'd almost buy a meal, right? By the end of the third week, 21st of that month, you'd have $10,485.76. By the end of that month, by the 30th day of that month, you'd have $5,368,709. Or $709, I'm sorry, $5,368,709.12. From a penny. Listen, it's little things that make big differences. It's staying consistent in those little things, right? In the first probably 10 days, you wouldn't feel like anything was changing. You'd feel like it wasn't much, right? In the next 10 days, you think to yourself, well, at least it looks like something's happening. But in those final 10 days, multiplications take over. And a difference will be made. Listen, it's the same thing. You take that same principle, right? Apply it to whatever you want. Apply it to, listen, if every one of us sitting in this room right now, we decided, you know what, over the course of the next year, once per month, I'm going to get somebody that doesn't come to church to come to church with me. Just one time every month. By the end of next year, we would double our attendance. Easily double our attendance. Because at least half of those people, right? Even if we went to the lowest number, if we said, you know what, 25% of those people will stick. If all that happened was 25% of those people stuck, we'd come close to doubling what comes now. You know what the problem is? The problem is not, well, if we had this, if we had that. Listen, the early church didn't even have a building. It's not if we had this or we had that. It's if we would do this or if we would do that. That's what makes the difference. Listen, lastly here, living on purpose begins with living today, in the present. Right, going back to the first couple verses that we read there, walking circumspectly, redeeming the time, and understanding the will of God. God has called us to redeem the time. You'll never find a place in Scripture where God says you really need to show some regret for the past. Or you really should be scared of what the future holds. As believers, that's not for us. The world should be scared of what the future may hold. But we're believers. We're not scared of what the future holds. But we should be concerned with redeeming the time, doing today what needs to be done. We should walk wisely, which means you should embrace the opportunities that come in your everyday life. There are opportunities for you to reach people with the gospel. There are opportunities abound in your life. If you would just speak up, have conversations with people. Right? I love my wife to death. My wife has never met a stranger. If we end up in line at Disneyland, by the time that we get to the front, she's Facebook friends with whoever was around us. Right? But she knows people from all over the place. Listen, it's just learn how to, take the opportunities that are in front of you. You have opportunities. You've got opportunities to invite people to church. You've got opportunities to present people with the gospel. You've got opportunities to grow spiritually. You will have an opportunity, I promise you, this week to control your temper. It will happen. At some point this week, you will have the opportunity to choose to cuss somebody out or to keep it to yourself. It'll happen. You have opportunities to grow spiritually. Listen, purpose begins when we give God today. Not when you start dreaming about someday. Someday I'm going to do this for God. Someday I'm going to do that for God. No, how about today? What are you going to do today? Listen, the clock on the wall has, right, or normal clocks, right? They have two hands on them. You know what those hands, there's two things about those hands. One is those two hands don't move at the same time. The other thing about those clocks is the hands don't move backward. They always advance. Listen, you can't go back. Whatever you regret about yesterday is what you regret about yesterday. Give it to God, leave it under the blood, and move on. It is what it is. You made a mistake. It was a mess up. Whatever. But move on. You can't go back and fix it. But if you don't let it go, it is going to continue to hold you back from ever accomplishing it. Listen, you can't borrow tomorrow's problem. You get to choose what you're going to do. Jim Elliot said, wherever you are, be all there. This is the only moment you got. This is the only time you have. Now. Be there, man. Adrian Rogers said, God's will is not something you find later. It's something you live now. Most of us have heard somebody say, or we've said it ourselves, right? Just wish I could find God's will. I can tell you how to find God's will. Start living it. Start living like you're in God's will. God, is this what you want me to do? Is this what you want to do? Obviously, God, this is where you want me because this is where I am. You want me somewhere else? You know where to find me. I've had guys ask me, right? I've told you before. I've had guys ask me why I'm still here and why, right, when the church split and everything else, I didn't leave or whatever. Right? I've told everybody, man, like, look, God has not led me to go anywhere. Guys will say, well, I know this church or that church that's looking for a pastor. Yeah, but I'm not looking. And God knows where I'm at. If God wanted me to go there, he would put my name in their Rolodex, man. They would call me. I'm not out there scouting for a church. I'm not doing that stuff. Listen, I'm just trying to do what God wants me to do today. And I fail and I make mistakes and I make the wrong choices. I've done it 100 different times. And I'll do it more tomorrow. But I'll keep getting up and I'll keep dusting myself off and I'll keep trying to do the best I can to do the will of God. Well, listen, that's all I'm asking for anybody to do. Dwight L. Moody said the best way to prepare for tomorrow is to do what's right today. You can't do it all, but you can do what's right. We'll close there. We'll be back in here in about 15 minutes.